Swaziland, Africa's last remaining absolute monarchy, is financially crippled. With the world's highest rates of HIV infection and more than 120,000 orphaned children, a Canadian entrepreneur is trying to help. 5 years after the mining town of Bulembu was abandoned, the Canadian bought it, and now hundreds of children call the mountain town home. But as Africa correspondent Ginny Stein reports, the town's deadly past, symbolised by a massive asbestos tailings mountain, is putting its future at risk.
Lost in the mountains of Swaziland, Bulembu became a ghost town when its asbestos mine closed. Now the town is back, centred on an orphanage, taking in children whose parents have often died of AIDS or been abandoned.
We've had one child that was found in a rubbish bag on a rubbish dump. So as they ripped open the bag, they found the small baby inside, still with the umbilical cord. So they took to the police, and then the Child Protection Unit brought them directly to us.
A year after Bulembu all but shut down, a Canadian entrepreneur bought it and donated it to a church ministry charged with reviving the town.
Our vision is to see Swaziland transformed by pouring into the lives of a group of orphans and vulnerable children who can grow up with the right education, with the right healthcare, with the right environment to go out there and become leaders in Swaziland.
When the town was bought, it came with hundreds of hectares of forest surrounding it. The town's timber mill now runs 5 days a week.
We've got 900 hectares of plantations, and then the proceeds that come from the sawmill itself get ploughed back into the childcare effort of Bulembu.
There's also a bakery, a dairy and a water bottling plant, and a lodge to entice people to stay. Once a mining town of more than 10,000 people, there are ambitious plans to make this community self-reliant once more. There are more than 1,200 orphans and their carers here at the moment, but there are plans to dramatically increase that number to more than 2,000. The one thing no one's mentioning, the massive mountain of asbestos tailings that looms large over the town. In Bulembu, there's quiet acceptance of the killer that's within. Asbestos is everywhere. World health experts have long accepted that there is no safe level of exposure to any form of asbestos, including the most common form, white or chrysotile asbestos. You're not worried by it?
No. Not worried about it at all. Because it's the chrysotile, it has a harder fibre than the other types, which I don't know the names of, so it doesn't become airborne.
Well, they obviously carried out, tests and things before, they'd set anything up here, and the asbestos that was mined here was actually not the dangerous kind. It was the green asbestos.
I would certainly have to disagree with those statements. Our experience, certainly my experience in working with the Asbestos Trust, this Asbestos Trust, is that any form of asbestos is dangerous, whether it be chrysotile or chrysotile.
Tina de Cruz is the director of South Africa's Asbestos Relief Trust.
It's rather shocking, the size of the dump and the location. It's square in the middle of town.
She says, like many communities affected by asbestos mining, ignorance about its dangers are commonplace.
They may have heard of the dangers of asbestos, but I don't think they truly appreciate what those dangers are.
She's visited Bulembu in the past, trying to aid those affected by asbestos mining. She believes the town's existence needs to be questioned.
Any assessment, any program to address the problem would need to consider whether the town needs to be relocated and closed down, or whether one can simply rehabilitate and continue living, allowing the community to live there.
Father God, I thank you for our time this morning.
And while Bulembu Ministries claim there is no problem, when it comes to fundraising, any mention of asbestos is missing from its own website. On your website, there's no mention of the word asbestos. Why is that?
That's a good question. I think partly just, again, because the problem with asbestos, it does paint the wrong perception in people's minds.
There is no doubting Swaziland needs help. It has the world's highest rate of HIV infection. 1 in 4 adults are infected, and more than 10% of the total population are orphans. But there are real questions that hang over this town, and the harm it may be doing to those the church group that's running Bulembu is trying to help. Bulembu Ministries maintains it's carried out air testing that shows it's safe to live here, but despite repeated requests, it's yet to provide any proof of any testing. Ginny Stein, Lateline.